Dear Lord, coming up here tonight, I had something real strange running through my head. I remember a young man saying to me, very profound, how can we appreciate heaven if we don't have toil in our life? Turmoil. I had a tumultuous day and I was kind of feeling down. And I decided to bring this here in front of these people because I know if I've had a stressful day, somebody else in this room probably has too. Lord, I ask you, let these people know it's good to have stress in our lives. We should thank you for it so we can appreciate the better days. Lord, what's about to happen tonight, decisions we made, things we discussed, it could cause stress in one of these people's lives. We need to accept it. We need to appreciate it, Lord. Makes us better. Lord, all the decisions that these people have to make, some are difficult. Some can get personal right now. But I ask you, remind them that as long as they're thinking about you, when decisions have to be made, things have to be discussed, things will be done in the right way, and nothing will ever become personal. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Mayor Eloise Taylor.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bill Colombo.
Here.
Councilman Steve O'Neill.
Here.
Councilwoman Nancy Britton. Please let the record show Councilwoman Britton is absent at this time. Councilman Terrence Rowe.
Here.
City Attorney Joseph Public.
Here.
And City Manager Tom O'Neill.
Here.
Okay, first item is the approval of the council minutes for the city council meeting of June 24th, 2014. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved. Second.
Any corrections, additions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Announcements, Mr. O'Neill.
None at this time.
Joe?
Nothing for me either.
Okay. Comments from the general public. Ms. Sullivan. You need to state your name for us and your address, please.
I am Mrs. Sullivan, Lucille Sullivan.
And I need you
I
to speak into the microphone or I can't hear you.
You just pull that down toward you.
I am Lucille Sullivan. I live in 7447 Candlelight Court. I like to tell the council about my fence. My husband and I have had the fence in 2009 when the hurricane destroyed my other fence. My husband passed away in 2010. Mr. Brown has been very helpful to me after my husband passed away. Even helped me my fixed car once. 2 years after my husband passed away, Mr. Brown fixed the screen door around my pool. He asked if he could use it my pool, and then I say that he couldn't. I thought he had a bathing suit on under his clothes, but he did not have any clothes on when he was in my pool. I let a towel out to my.
She has her 3 minutes.
I left a towel out for him to use it. I know that what he did was wrong, but it.
Ms. Sullivan, the purpose of this address to the council is to give us information that is pertinent to a decision. It's not to air disputes that you may have with anybody in the city.
Because I want to say something about my
I'm
fence.
sorry, Ms. Sullivan, I need you to speak up.
I can continue with. And my pool, I gave it to him, the towel, but he say he didn't see it. And he used my pool complete naked. And 2 months later, when he finishes, he asked him, he fixed my other screen door. He asked me if he can use it, my pool. I thought he used it, he used it the bathing suit inside. But did not, he no use it. And he go naked inside of my door. I know what's wrong. I feel embarrassed myself when I saw him inside. I told him, Mr. Brown, I left the towel outside, and he said, I didn't see it. I don't see it. So I feel embarrassed myself. I never say nothing to nobody because I don't want to give it to problems to nobody.
Your time is up. If you will wind up your comments, please.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
Thomas Brown, 7436 Candlelight Court. To continue where I left off at the June 24th meeting, the 6-foot fence that was erected where city ordinance would only allow a 4-foot fence had no waiver request on file with the city on March 31st when pass was written on the inspection sheet. Why does the city do nothing when a city ordinance is violated? 11 days after the 6-foot fence was passed, the resident wrote a letter to City Manager Tom O'Neill with a law firm business card attached in the upper right-hand corner. There is no proof that the law firm had anything to do with drafting the letter. Could this have been a form of intimidation? The 6-foot fence on the east side of the property provides burglars with a place to hide after they enter through the unlocked gate on the west side of the house. So much for security. The letter to City Manager goes on to say, I would like to state having to pay the cost of my fence being removed would cause me great financial hardship. An ad in the flyer or on Craigslist would bring people that would pay money and take the $3,000 fence away for use or resale. After spending more than $3,000 on the fence that is in violation of city ordinance, the resident spent more than $2,000 to put up a fence that violates Candlelight subdivision deed restrictions. There seems to be a pattern of disrespect for the rights of adjacent property owners. The city newsletter dated fall 2013 states, why have code enforcement? Do we not have the right to do what we want on our own property? Code enforcement is often misunderstood. It is not about denying people property rights, but protecting their property rights. Enforcing local codes is important because it protects property owners' rights to enjoy their property without illegal infringement from surrounding properties. Enforcement is conducted based on the violation, not the violator. These are seen as violations against the jurisdiction. Code enforcement provides violators a chance to comply voluntarily. Enforcement efforts are directed at providing opportunities for solving problems and eliminating violations, not punishing people. Code enforcement officers must be able to perform many roles, including, as a last resort, enforcement agent. Code enforcement officers have a difficult and often thankless job. 6-foot fence job. I repeat the first sentence.
Mr. Brown, your time is up. If you'll just wind up what you want to present for this evening.
Well, I repeat the first sentence. Why have code enforcement, to which I add when they don't enforce code pertaining to fence height. And I'll continue next meeting.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Yes, ma'am. Need to come up to the podium, and you need to state your name for us.
My name is Ruby Sanchez. I live in 10835 Hilltop Drive, Newport Richie, Florida, 34654. I am the wife of Dr. Sanchez, the ophthalmologist here in Newport Richie,
I
in
can't-
5340
Ma'am,
Gold
I
Drive. I'm
cannot,
telling you that about my husband, sir.
I can't hear you.
Because Mr. Sullivan and his wife were our patients for many years. We know this couple. I knew the husband when he was sick, when she was taking care in her house. After the husband died, she was alone. Mr. Brown was his handyman, close friend of her husband. After the husband died, he tried to go to help her. I was telling her, be careful. When you are alone, somebody can do something when you are alone. 1 year later, I think she came to our office. She was crying what happened in the house. He told me what Mr. Brown did. The first time, she was so worried, so scared. She didn't know what to do. She said, I don't want the neighbors they know because they will say that I bad women. I don't know because I am afraid. I respect his wife. I respect his children. She also always worry for the family and not for herself. I told her, no dear, you have to go to the policeman. Talk to the policeman what he's doing to you, okay? Go. I am the woman who I push her to go to the policeman and to put a fence. You are alone. You are senior citizen. You have to protect yourself. Nobody will attack you when you are alone, dear. Put cameras in your house. If you don't have money, lend me, I will help you. Always I stand up for her. I couldn't leave the office because I work with my husband. I say, go to the policeman, always. Because she cried in my office for everything what happened to her. And I was so angry when I saw this newspaper. This Pasco Times, June 27. Mr. Brown, he took a picture here in front of the house of this lady who is a victim of the behavior of Mr. Brown. Dear, most of you have your parents. They are senior citizens, 80, 90 years old.
Need to speak into the microphone, ma'am.
You have your parents that are senior citizens, and you don't like somebody do this to them when they are alone, when they are widows. No. I like this meeting. It's the first time I am in this office. I want you do this city on Newport Richie, a nice place to live. We love and care each other, not to fight.
Your time is up. I need you to
Okay.
wrap it up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to comments from council.
Well, on a lighter note, I want to thank everyone and the city, all the staff, everyone who was involved in the 4th of July event. From what I understood, it went off very well. Thank you all. I know it was a lot of hard work, but you made the city proud, so thank you. I guess I have to address this fence. It's back in our face again. And still I have no written statement from the city as its position on this fence. I asked twice. Mr. O'Neill joined me in the last request. I consider this to be disrespectful to this office, to this council. When we ask for things, we expect to get them. It is very hard for us to proceed without knowing exactly what the position of the city is. I have seen these emails, and I have responded to them, because there are problems in my mind about a lot of the positions that the city is taking. The code is to be followed verbatim. I don't see room for interpretation by any particular person in the city. This should have also gone before the Board of Adjustment. That never happened either. There are a lot of problems with this particular fence. The fact that it went up without a permit originally, then was permitted later, and all the questions that go with it. I've gone over this over the last 2 weeks. I have looked into the county records as well. I see major problems with the legalities and the position of the city. I'm asking the city attorney at this point to give us his opinion on whether this fence is legal or not at this point.
Anyone else?
I also just want to say thank you. I think the fireworks went off well. I just happened to have my folks over and had to watch them from Sand Pebble, but from what I understand too, it went off very well. So thank you to the chief and everybody involved in keeping that as it's been the last couple of years. It's come off very well. I've got a couple of other notes I just want to make mention of. Since we're talking about parking meters, and that's going to come up, the Florida legislature passed, and the governor signed into law HB 7175, a transportation bill, which provides that on or before August 31st of 2014, each municipality and county that receives revenue from any park meters and other parking time limit devices that regulate designated parking spaces located within or along the right-of-way limits of the road is required to provide the FTC a written inventory of the location of each meter or device and the revenue collected on those during the last 3 years. That was, we get email and some of these things come up. I'll also make reference to, it's noted from the finance department, those calculations in relation to the 2 part-time officers that became full-time, that the impact of this could, I believe, save as much as $10,000 if we, I don't have the particulars on the overtime numbers, but I know that, and whether or not the chief wants to go into that, I think the memo speaks to it well, though, as to what we've done, why we've done it, and what it's going to produce. Evidently, we had some overlap, and that overlap would be basically taken care of. And I guess the last thing I want to note is, because we're talking about these public-private partnerships, we received some information on a free guide to members, state and local government officials, a resource manual for these public-private partnerships. In 2013, the Florida legislature gave new statutory authority to local governments to engage in public-private partnerships to provide infrastructure and public facilities. The new law has sparked greater interest in the use of the P3s by local government to address a serious backlog of major infrastructure needs, and I think all of us are been talking about infrastructure needs for quite a while. So I just wanted to say those couple of things. If the chief wants to add to that, that's fine. And one note about the fence, I think, you know, as long as I've been up here, there has been a process. There's still a process. I don't think we have to, I don't have to look too far from my own home to recognize that there's a fence that went up probably in the last year or so. That is a 4-foot fence, but it's solid wood in the front. It does not have the 50% opacity factor that's tied with it. And, you know, I'll just say that, you know, that there are some gray zones. I still remember the discussion that was had some time ago. We had 2 families here, and this involved both pets and a child. And it was quite a heated discussion here some time ago. That led to a different type of fence for this particular person as well. So while we all might think that it's always black and white, it's sometimes not. It sometimes has a gray associated with it, and that gray comes back to a call from the city manager. So I'm not against us obtaining more information or hearing legal, as Terry had called out. But you know, again, you know, we you know, it's not always black and white. We'd like it to be, but it's not always that way. Anyway, those are 2 things if you folks want to comment on those. Thank you.
Yeah, and I, again, along with everybody else, would like to say kudos to all the departments. Everything seemed to run very smoothly on 4th of July this year, as far as from the PD, the FD, Public Works, Utility, everybody did a great job. So, you know, I was very happy to see that. Very happy that there were clouds to the west of us and clouds to the east of us, and the clouds never came over us. So that was a very good thing. So that's all I had to say.
Okay. With regard to the fence issue that has come before us a number of times recently, I appreciate Ms. Sullivan and Ms. Brown being here and expressing their opinions or their positions. And I understand both of their perspectives. But hearkening back to the ordinance that was passed by the City Council a number of years ago, the intention of that ordinance was to protect the view of the water for property owners, adjoining property owners and the neighborhood. It was clear that they felt very strongly about doing that as one of the important aesthetics in a waterfront community. And I think that we need to readdress the ordinance and make it and fine-tune it, because I think there are some ambiguities or confusions in the ordinance that should not be there, so that the purpose of the ordinance can go forward. That is to ensure that there is a clear view of the waterfront. You know, anybody who's been out to Candlelight has seen the fence, and it is quite clear that it obstructs the view. It's a beautiful fence, but nonetheless, it obstructs a beautiful view. Furthermore, with regard to the position of the city, it's not the City Council's obligation, responsibility, or duty to change the decision that is in the hands of city staff. A decision has been made by the building official and the city manager with respect to this fence. I'm not sure that the City Council has the power to do anything else about it. In the city, I will ask the city attorney to address that comment, because I believe that's our limitations with respect to this. Nonetheless, I still think we need to readdress it and fine-tune it and put this issue to rest. Mr. Pavlik.
Mr. Mayor, you are correct. The council, the way the ordinance is currently written, does not have the authority to override the city manager's discretion that the ordinance does provide him for allowing for the waiver. What I would recommend is what council do is what you suggested as well, is seek to amend this ordinance to address some of these issues. Whether you wish to take away any possibility of any variances, or if you want those variants to go to the Board of Adjustment or make whatever modifications that you see fit. But the way it's currently written now, I don't see anything in here which provides for any authority for council to overrule the city manager or the building official for that matter.
If I may, Your Honor, Your Honor,
It's all right.
Mayor,
I'll accept it.
I just don't understand the position of our city attorney. I've read these statutes, and what are we here for if we don't have the final authority? And in this book, it says we do. First of all, this should have gone to
Where,
the...
Terry? Where?
Pardon?
Where in the ordinance are you talking
If you
about?
give me a minute, I will
Sure.
find it.
You know, while he's looking, I forgot one thing I just want to mention. I know we don't have IT here, but as far as use of the iCloud, you know, we're hearing that term used a lot, and maybe, you know, things obviously in our own case, in our own city, that where this would be useful. For all I know, maybe going on already, but I don't know if we'll have to check with Tony and see, you know, if they're actually utilizing something like that.
Yeah, it's under...
I just read an article on the Smart Cities Council, and you know that's what drew the question. So I don't know. I know there's been a lot of changes we've had in IT ourselves, but you know, it's just something to
I think
think
they
about.
recently did make some changes with the Exchange server. I don't know if they
Yeah.
if they put that up into a virtual server, or is that, did they do that? You don't have to make. the-
I'm
if
not
you're not
the
sure.
expert
Yeah.
on that,
Yeah,
certainly,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I would defer to our IT staff.
Yeah, so that,
If
but
I
you know,
had to
I mean,
actually
the
replace
iCloud's a
an
great,
iPad.
the iCloud's a great thing, but it's like anything else in the internet. If you can't get to it, you're out of business, and that's happened a lot lately.
I had to replace an iPad, and in doing so, it took minutes for all that information to just fall, you know, from the cloud basically into my new device. Yeah. So.
Pam has a
If I
comment.
may, Black Mountain, that is our finance software and our utility billing software, they are using a cloud system so that our auditors are able to access our information without changing anything, but able to access from their locations and to help in the audit. So we are getting into the cloud somewhat.
You just think about, you know, even going back to the Shirley Dresch days, and you know, all the files that we have and things that are, you know, could sometimes be, you know, trying to locate and whatever, as we're now building, you know, and have that backup into the iCloud. You know, it's just interesting. Anyhow.
And I can prove that that was a water area long before they were done it deeper. Again, Mayor, the problem here is that we have not had a written statement from this city. I've asked for it. I can't believe that this council will sit here and not support me in my request. Wait till it's time for one of you to request something, and I hope you get it. Because this is a slap in the face to a councilman, and I don't have any patience for it. I'm enraged by it. Twice I've asked for this. Now, I've talked to some people at the county, and I'd like to see them try this with one of the commissioners. The city manager would be out on the street looking for a job. I have no patience with this. We could get to the heart of this thing. It should be on the agenda. We should have a written statement, and then we can go line by line. But I'm telling you, that fence is illegal. It's been illegal since it was constructed. It was constructed without a permit. And the fact that we gave them a permit after the fact is an abomination. It should have gone to the Board of Adjustment. We don't follow procedure, folks. We haven't followed procedure for 2 years. The Board of Adjustment is also irate. So do what you want, council. I'm on my own here. I'm telling you, I don't agree with this. It's wrong. I feel sorry for you. I really do. You have a right to some privacy. However, the code is the code is the code. We have to follow the law. I would love for you to have a fence all the way around your house 10 feet tall, if that made you feel secure. But I have to follow the law. And as far as I'm concerned, and I've read through this, I've looked through it, and I've had consultation with people, I do not see the fence to be legal. And if this council ignores it, I see lawsuits. I see fences going up around town like this too. This is just the tip of the iceberg. If we don't get this underhand, we're going to have all problems all over the county, all over the city. It's not going to be pretty, and we've already got some fences out there I'm going to draw attention to. So
Well, I
I'm
don't
gonna
think it's a
let it play
fact,
for
I
tonight.
don't think it's a fact that we in particular disagree. I think that the fact remains that, you know, as I said before, you know, we have had a gray zone. I don't have to go too far down my street and see a fence up right now. I didn't have to go too far down my street over a year ago to stop a fence from going up that I recognized was illegal. You know, we asked folks to report it. We you know, we're 2 square miles of a city. It shouldn't be too difficult, but I think as indicated by the mayor here just now, it's been an item to be revisited as well. Terry, is it legal? Well, if this ends up in court, I guess we'll find out whether it's illegal or not. And if that's the path it's going to take, then maybe that's the path it's going to take. You know, we've asked, as you have here, for legal comment, and that has come. You know, I agree with you. That's frustrating. And, you know, I agree. I want to be sure that we have a handle on this, because you're right. Fences can be a real nightmare. And it's unfortunate that folks would just, in many cases, proceed with this without even a call to the city for information. But again, there are some gray areas. And again, it's not always black and white. And can it be? I guess that's a question that I have. Can we be absolute that everything that's going to ever go up in this city is going to follow the rule of law?
Steve, you join me in
Okay, I
the
didn't recognize you,
Okay.
Mr. Rowe.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Neill.
Yeah, it's just very briefly. I don't want to belabor this in any way, shape, or form. But on 2 separate occasions, I sent out 2 emails that thoroughly outlined the position and the reasoning behind the decision. In addition, as each of you know, I've talked with you privately, and as of the beginning of this meeting, I had not heard anything back, nor had I heard any requests for any additional information or clarification. In response to Councilman Rowe's request, I sent out 2 emails that I sent out earlier in February, and that outlined, once again, the reasoning behind the decision. As the mayor has suggested, if you do not wish to give the city manager discretionary authority to grant relief to the height restrictions, you can amend the ordinance, and that's easily done. We'll schedule that for consideration at a future meeting. If there is any additional information you want, I'd be more than happy to provide that again.
With respect to the ordinance, I'd like not only us to look at who has the review authority and who has the discretion to make decisions, but also just fine tuning the ordinance itself to make clear what the intent, to realize what the intent of that ordinance was. Okay. Joe, did you find anything further?
Nothing right now that I'm prepared to address at this moment.
Okay. Then there's still some dangling questions, I think, that we have. I'd certainly like to see the ordinance, the fence ordinance, be addressed and come back to us. Yes, Mr. Rowe.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely. It should be looked at again because I don't think it was ever the intent that this body would be overridden by a city manager's decision. However, I think something that would help us also on this is that we request, and I make that motion, that we request the Board of Adjustment to look at this particular fence situation and give us their opinion. That's the way it's supposed to be done.
I don't think the Board of Adjustment can look at something after, you know, in reverse, shall we say. I don't think that.
Let me see if I can clarify it. Are you talking about the Board of Adjustment to having input as to the ordinance, or are you talking about them having input as to this particular issue?
I would like their opinion on this fence as it stands if they feel it's illegal.
I think that's...
Whether it's before or after the fact, we gave permits after the fact, so I don't see any reason why the Board of Adjustment couldn't look at it after the fact. Can you ask for a second, Mayor?
Is there a second? Okay. All right.
Again, and the reason I wouldn't second that is that the job of the Board of Adjustment is to grant a variance to a code based upon, you know, the 8 guidelines before a variance is granted. And I understand where you're coming from, and I'd like to see it happen. I just don't see that as the proper way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, we're long past that, unfortunately, the Board of Adjustment, especially when the ordinance apparently has written into it discretionary authority granted to the city manager. Any time that you have discretionary authority granted to the city manager, that really doesn't call the Board of Adjustment into play.
Okay. Procedurally, I agree too, but let's have this come back to us with regard to maybe some proposed language change from the city attorney with respect to this ordinance, and then we can have a more thorough discussion about where we want to go with it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to consent agenda, if you will. We have, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, it passes. Moving on to council business, we have first resolution 14-04, the Orange Grove Street Improvement Project. Mr. Public, would you read the caption, or would you read the resolution?
A resolution of the Council of the City of Port Richey requesting that the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida provide funding to resurface or reconstruct Orange Grove Avenue.
Okay. This is a resolution that we requested because of the ongoing desire to have Orange Grove repaved with the cooperation and help of the county. Is there any discussion?
I think we've discussed this one to death,
Okay,
to be honest
okay.
with you.
Anyone from the public wishing to have any input on this resolution? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a
Second.
second? All right, is there any further discussion?
Just as a brief comment, once executed, I will send an executed version of the resolution to Office of the County Administrator, the County Clerk, and a copy to each member of the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to the next item, which is discussion of the parking kiosk at Nix Park. Mr. O'Neill.
Yes, as each member of council will recall, this has been discussed on a number of occasions. I have provided in your packet 2 different alternatives. One is an honor box system that's 30 space. There is 33 spaces at Nix Park for vehicle and boat trailer parking. The second system is a more technical system, if you will, that is an automated fee machine. It also takes debit and credit cards. There's quite a variance in cost. The Honor Box system, if you decide to proceed, is $1,784, and the automated fee machine system is $17,000 plus. I envision this equipment could be installed by our Public Works Department, and what we would need to do if you decide you want to, we mark this as an action item tonight, is authorize the preparation of an ordinance that would set the fees for parking at Nix Park.
Okay, discussion.
I don't know if I ever really envisioned this as strictly a parking fee situation. I mean, with, 22 trailer spots and 13 single car spots, I mean, why bother? I mean, if somebody goes out in the morning, they come in the evening, and we made a few bucks, but,
Bill, there was a slash boat fee.
okay.
So,
So,
yeah.
but I mean, how would we, okay, but then my
So,
question would be,
it-
how would we accomplish the boat fee?
launch fee.
Launch fee, sorry.
I'm going to give you a really thoroughly prepared answer, and that is, I don't know. I mean, if they launch their boat and park off-site, I don't know how we can enforce that without an attendant present.
Right, yeah. Unless you go to like an honor system sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah, other than that, yeah, because otherwise, just going by parking spaces,
It's not worth it if you
Yeah,
just go by parking
it's not
spaces.
worth it,
The heavy use is
Yeah.
people launching
yeah.
in
The
that
constant
area.
launching, yeah.
And partly you go by the honor system.
Right.
And how well it works, I don't know. But
Now, the
so-
county, excuse me, Madam Mayor, does the county have some, is all the ramps that they charge for, and I believe most of them they do now, are they all based on parking spots, or are they based on launching?
I couldn't give you an answer to that without checking into it. I didn't ask that question. I know at Anclote, they have a fee for parking and launching.
Right, because it seemed to me a ways back, and of course that might have changed down on Lake Tarpon. I think it was strictly a launch fee. They just had like something set up right by the ramp. And I think it was an honor system.
Yeah, I did not
If it ever
talk-
worked out or made any money, I don't know,
Yeah,
but it
that's
was-
Pinellas County Parks, and
Yeah.
I didn't talk to them.
Yeah, yeah.
I talked to Pasco County staff.
Right, sure.
Hernando County's got similar launch sites as well.
Mhm.
So I think that's part and parcel of what we need to do. And it appears to me, at least superficially, that the automated system is not realistic, given the cost. That I would think that the more honor system may until we figure out if it works and is worth doing.
Oh, sure. Or if we got a hold of that piece of land across the street and put some more parking for boats in, that might make it worthwhile. But
Yeah.
right now, with the amount of parking we have, obviously, regarding this one issue, it's not worth doing, and secondarily, it obviously points out that we are woefully, under parking spaced, for lack of a
To
better
say the
phrase.
least.
To say, for lack of a better
But-
phrase.
But part of the impetus for me bringing this up was simply that the launch use is the
Right.
heaviest use, not the
Right.
parking right
Sure.
there. The parking is
Absolutely,
very,
yes.
very limited.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
And so I think part of what we need is some more factual information from other governmental entities to see what they do and how effective it is and their experience.
Right.
And if Tarpon's got it, that's one option. I know Hernando's got a couple sites. I don't know if you can launch without getting into the parking area. I think launch independently. I don't know that, but
Right,
I
right.
know it's out there.
At Rogers Park on Wekiwachi, there's an honor system box, and you pay a fee for launching and parking.
Can
It's a
you,
combined
can you
fee.
launch without parking there? Can you launch and then take and park someplace else? I believe you can.
You probably could, but I
Yeah.
don't think there's any place else to park.
Yeah, well, that's kind of it, yeah.
Okay,
But, well, and the same with us, you know, I mean, you could, you know, if you had a machine, I don't know that you had to pay to get into the park itself, then, you know, you can launch and park if there's a parking space, or launch and not park if there's not. I don't know. I don't know what kind of system. That would probably be a more sophisticated system, because that would probably be like a gated system or
Yeah.
something like that, you know, that let people in and out,
Yeah.
so. You know, of course, if it was up to me, I'd just put a gate up and just issue cards to people that were residents of Port Richey and say, to heck with the rest of the county, and if you want to do something fancier, y'all come up to the plate and,
Anclote charges regardless if you park or you put a boat in, doesn't matter. If
Is
you
it just
bring a
to
car
get
in
into
there,
the area?
You better have a ticket on the window.
okay.
they have a what
They,
process?
they have a box as you come in, it's very nice, like one of these, you can have either money or you can use your credit card, which makes it very convenient, but if you have a car or you have a boat, you're gonna have to pay to get into the park. The trick to this, and the problem I foresee, is enforcement. If we can't enforce it,
That's what I was gonna say.
we're gonna come up with an empty sack. So, that's gonna be, I think, the bottom line with this. I don't know how we can enforce it.
Well, you got both, the enforcement issue, and of course, not enough, if we're talking about just parking spaces.
Yeah, parking spaces.
Obviously not worth going forward,
Right.
but, you know, a launching fee, if indeed that's where, the only place where there would be a launch, so. Anyway, more information, obviously, as you indicated.
Well, we could put one of our many police officers out there with like one of them changers on their belt, and, you know, and they could just stand there and just collect the fee, you know, because, right?
If you would like, what we will do is we'll survey the other jurisdictions, and we'll find out what they charge for what service at each individual location, give you that
And maybe the
information.
kind of the revenue, the use or the revenue generated, and
Okay.
see what we're looking at.
Yeah. Do we ever get a kind of handle on what a standard charge is?
I think you would probably just set that in accordance with the going rate.
Well, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Do we ever get a handle on what the going rate might be?
Well, I
know-
can tell you what Anclote would be and is, and the last time I launched my boat at Rogers Park, it was $2.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's more now,
It
Tom.
could be.
I think it's more like 5, but I.
It could be.
And Claude is, what,
I believe
Terry?
Anclote was 4, if I remember right. It was 3 or 4, and I remember I went out there metal detecting. I came home with 26 cents, and the guys at work were laughing at me because they said, you're really making money out there.
Okay. So we've got some direction on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll list it on a future agenda along with different information on other sites and what they charge.
And bring it back maybe next time, soon enough, Tom?
I think we could do
Okay.
that.
All right. Anybody from the audience wishing to speak and give us input regarding this matter?
Jim Priest, 5100 Sunset Boulevard. I don't see where that, personally to me anyway, where it's really an issue being able to charge. You will have to gate it. And very simply in there, they have to go ahead and they got to pay to get in here. And if they don't have their card, they don't have their ticket, they will not be able to get back in and get their boat. So I don't think it's a very difficult undertaking. Okay, in here. It's just something that has to be addressed. One of the other items I noticed in there is Mr. O'Neill pointed out in here that we could go ahead and do this installation in here, and I did notice on the quote in there, they charge us $2,500 to install. So hopefully maybe we can recoup some of that if we are the ones doing the installation in here. So I think it'd be, we can maybe address what that bottom line may actually come down to. The residents of, in my opinion, again, as far, and this will be something I guess when we get down into actually fees and all in there, of Port Richey should have a benefit. I mean, we've paid for this, we've repaired it. We're going to be doing it again here probably very shortly, on it. And I think it should be a benefit to them. I do believe there's folks out there though that will pay an additional amount of money, okay, to go ahead and do it for one time in there as far as maybe outside of the city. They may look at annual passes as well, at least the discussions that I've had, okay, with folks with the understanding that this was going to be charged. Actually, most of the people I spoke to are kind of surprised that we do not charge in here. We're about the only ones that don't in here. And it just doesn't make, in my opinion, it hasn't for a number of years made a lot of sense that we don't do this. There's a lot more folks I know in our town anyway that rather have a fee to be charged for something that is probably going to create revenue as opposed to have their ad valorem increased. So it does make a lot more sense to it. But I think it's the issue of not being able to police this is simply you do not let them in unless they have their ticket. They pay for it. When they will go to pick their boat back up, if they don't have their ticket, they don't get their boat. It's that simple. Okay.
Thank you. All right. That's the end of the agenda for this evening. Is there anything further we need to address? All right, then this meeting will be adjourned. I think we need a brief recess to reset the